Hello, boys and girls. This is Oscar speaking from El Calero City, the best city in the world. Here we are. How are you doing at home? Very bored? Okay. If you don't want to be bored, listen to my voice. Last day we were speaking about matter, and we said that the matter is all around us. It is something that we cannot create or we cannot destroy, but we can change. And we were speaking about physical changes of matter. In the physical changes of matter, we don't change the substance. The water continues being water in the changes of state. The glass continues being glass, is the same glass in the change of shape. The leaves don't change, they are leaves when we move, when we change the position, and the paper is still paper with the same properties of the paper when we change the texture. But today we are going to change about another types of changes, what are chemical changes. This is totally different. There are lots of differences between physical and chemical changes. The chemical changes are called chemical reactions, yes? And the chemical reactions change the properties of the original substance. It is a big change. And in the chemical reactions, we create new substances. This is something new. Yes, we change the properties of the matter, and we change this substance in new substances. Yes, and today we are going to speak about three of them: combustion or burning, oxidation, and fermentation. Right? Okay, combustion. Combustion is fire. When we make a fire, that is a combustion, and we call that burning too. Yes, burning, combustion or burning. Yes, and this is when we make fire, right? So, what happens in this chemical reaction? The reaction is between the oxygen in the air. It is a reaction with the fuel. The fuel is the object, the substance that we use to make fire, and it makes a reaction with the heat, with the temperature. Yes, so heat makes burning when it reacts with fuel and oxygen that is in the air, right? So we need three elements to make a fire, to make a combustion. Fuel, in this case wood, but can be paper or can be petrol or whatever. We need oxygen and we need heat. Yes, heat. In this chemical reaction, in this chemical change, we produce energy, heat and light. When you make a fire, you get heat, the temperature goes up, and you get light. Yes, and we are changing this substance, this matter, into new substances, and those new substances are ash. This is the ash, yes, and smoke. Smoke, yes. We get the fuel, the wood, reacts with the oxygen in the air and with the heat, and we have a combustion. And in this combustion, we produce energy, that is light and heat, and new substances appear that are ash and smoke that goes up to the atmosphere, right? Another type of combustion, the one that happens in the vehicles, in the lorries, the cars, the buses, yes? In this case, the fuel, the petrol, reacts with the oxygen that is in the air and with the heat. And we produce energy in the form of movement. Yes, the movement is a type of energy. And we are producing new substances that are the gases that go out to the atmosphere from the motors of these vehicles. Yes? So remember, for combustion, we need fuel, can be wood, can be petrol, can be paper. Yes? We need oxygen is necessary, and we need heat. Yes? When those three elements combine, react, we have a chemical reaction called burning, combustion, or what we usually say, fire. Yes? Important, we need oxygen for this chemical reaction. Yes? And it is irreversible. When we get this, we cannot go back to this. Yes? When we get this movement and these gases, we cannot go back to this, irreversible, right? Okay, another type of chemical reaction, chemical change, is the oxidation. Some elements, some substances react with the oxygen that is in the air, react with the oxygen. Another one in which we need oxygen. Remember, for this one, we need oxygen. For this one, we need oxygen, right? And in the oxidation process, we get a new substance that is called rust. The rust is this brown substance that is on the iron. Yes, if the iron is outside in contact with the oxygen that is in the air, we have a chemical change, a chemical reaction called oxidation, right? And in this oxidation, we get a new substance called rust. Do you see here the rust? This brown substance is the rust. Okay, some atoms of the iron change into rust. We cannot go back because these atoms that change into rust cannot go back to the previous substance, right? So this is another type of chemical change, chemical reaction in which we need oxygen, and it is called oxidation. But this happens too with some food. Yes, if you peel or cut a piece of apple, in some time we get this. This brown substance is rust because the apple reacts with the oxygen in the air, and the atoms or some atoms of the apple change into a new substance that is the rust. Okay, so it is not only for metals. Yes, it happens with some food, for example, apples, potatoes. Yes, it is very important to remember. Okay, so we need oxygen, and in this case, in the case of fermentation, we don't need oxygen. Remember, for the fermentation, oxygen is not needed. Here, the reaction is between some substances and fungi and bacteria. Fungi and bacteria. Some fungi and some bacteria react with some substances, producing a chemical reaction and changing the atoms into new substances. And we are going to put two examples. Yes, we have to say that if the reaction is with a fungi, yes, we have a new substance that is called alcohol. I know that you don't drink alcohol, but the alcohol appears from a chemical change, from a chemical reaction that is called fermentation. So, for example, here we have, no, this is not what I wanted. This one, yes, here you have the wine. To making wine that has alcohol, we take the juice from the grape, we mix with those fungi, yes, those fungi, and a new substance happens, and we have a new substance that comes from this chemical change, chemical process, right? So here, from the juice of the grape, we get wine. this is irreversible. We cannot go back. When we have wine with alcohol, we cannot go back to the grape juice. Another example is cheese and yogurt. Yes, if we use milk and we put some bacteria in the milk, we get a different substance. We change those atoms and we get yogurt. Yes, that is because bacteria, as we said that fungi produce alcohol, bacteria produce a substance that is called lactic acid. Lactic acid is a substance that is produced in the chemical change, in the chemical process between milk and some bacteria. Yes, so we mix the milk with some bacteria, there is a chemical reaction, a chemical change that produces a new substance that is the yogurt. And this is the same for the cheese. The cheese comes from a chemical reaction. We mix the milk with some bacteria. Those bacteria produce lactic acid that makes that the atoms of the milk change into this new substance that is the cheese, right? Another thing that we can use, another type of bacteria that we use at home is that one that we use for making bread or making cakes. Yes, if you take a bread dough, this is a bread dough. Yes, you can mix this with a bacteria, and what happens to this dough? That grows and grows and grows, makes it bigger, right? So that is a chemical reaction that happens when we mix the dough with a bacteria, right? Why does the dough get bigger and bigger? Because a chemical reaction, yes, that is called fermentation, right? And for the last, we use this fermentation process with some food, yes? In this process, in this fermentation process, we make that the cucumbers change and they can be in this jar for a long time. Yes, and we can eat them for months and months. Yes, and it is the same with, for example, this salami. Salami is something that we use on pizza sometimes. Yes, so in the factory they produce a chemical process, a chemical change here to make that this can be okay for a long time. All these examples are chemical changes, are chemical processes, yes? And this is something that we use every day, yes? We use this process, for example, with some fish, yes? When we eat fish in a tin, in a metallic tin, they have passed through a chemical change, a chemical process of fermentation. But remember, in this fermentation, oxygen is not needed. We don't need oxygen for fermentation, right? Okay, so very fast. Chemical reactions, chemical changes, change the properties of the original substance and new substances are created. Yes, three types: combustion, fire, we need oxygen, we need this fuel, and we need heat. Yes, when in this type of combustion we get energy, heat and light, and we get new substances, ash and smoke that goes up, right? In the oxidation, some substances react with the oxygen in the air and some atoms of this substance change into rust. The rust is the new substance. Yes, this brown substance on the iron that happens to